Welcome back in on the Bama Tailgate Show with Thom Abraham joining us. Before we talk Alabama and Texas, let me remind you guys, as always, that we're brought to you by Visit Sevierville. And it's a great time to start planning your next trip to the Smoky Mountains. We're in the middle of Smoky Mountain Harvest Festival right now, which means creative fall displays throughout Sevierville. And as the brilliant fall colors in the trees start to turn, you're going to want to be there to check it out. All the great back roads and historical points of interest and beautiful fall views available with maps and videos and everything you need at visitsevierville.com/fall. All right, here he is. We talk to him every week from Huntsville and North Alabama, but known throughout the country. Mr. Thom Abraham, 97.7 ESPN the Zone. What's up, my friend?
I'll tell you what, looking forward to this one. It doesn't get any bigger than this. This is the first game of the year game, I think, for the season in college football. Can't wait to see how this one's going to unfold in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, look, and I feel like college football right now is in a transition. I mean, to see Florida State dismantle LSU, I thought it would be the other way around. Deion Sanders and Colorado won a game last year, redid the roster. As he told you over and over in the post-game press conference, there were a lot of naysayers. They beat TCU. Wow, that's crazy. But this could be one of those games as well. I hate to say it, but I feel like this is a really important game for Alabama to stay relevant.
I think it's an important game for both teams. You hate to talk about elimination games, but as was the case last week with Clemson's stunning loss to Duke and with LSU's loss to FSU, those teams now have lost any buffer. They have to run the table. That's it. They got to run the table, win their conference championship to have a shot at the college football playoff. I think the same thing is true for the loser of this game here. I mean, you lose your buffer in the 14 playoff, and that won't be that way in the 12 team, but in the 14 playoff, whoever loses this game is got to run the table the rest of the way, including their conference championship game. End of story. Because I still don't think we'll get a 2-loss team unless Alabama were to lose on a fluke play and then turn around and beat a 12-0 Georgia in the SEC championship game. Then maybe they're getting in probably at that particular point in time. But still, the other thing about this game is it feels like a revenge game for Alabama. We know that we've got the Tennessee game and the LSU game as revenge games for Alabama to avenge those last-second losses last season. Well, all anyone wants to talk about was the fact that Texas totally outplayed Alabama last year in Austin, and that how without Quinn Ewers getting injured, Alabama doesn't win that game. They want to talk about the fact that Alabama had 15 penalties on them in that game. They want to talk about the holding call that wasn't called against Alabama on that last drive for the field goal to win the game, and so on. So it almost feels like that was a loss, and this feels like almost a revenge game, not for Texas, the team that lost, but for Alabama to go in there, play a clean game, and win convincingly over a team that gave them fits last year.
It's a barometer. I felt like last year's game was the exact same thing. We saw exactly who Alabama was in game 2. They struggled. You mentioned the penalties. Now, they had all of these tough games on the road last year, which didn't help. But the personality of the team was, we're going to hang around. We're going to play close. We're going to make a lot of mistakes. But we'll try to find a way at the end. And then this game, you're right. I feel like this game is kind of along the same lines, as we'll know a lot more about this team when it's over.
Well, the first encouraging sign was the fact that they played Middle Tennessee, which I understand it was Middle Tennessee, but it's not like it's some team from FCS. I mean, it was an 8-win team that had a bunch of returners on defense that played a wild 8-man front that constantly was putting pressure on Alabama, but no one jumped off sides. No one lined up wrong. There were no illegal procedures. They played an entire football game and had 2 penalties, one of which was an inadvertent, headshot at the quarterback. They did not make any of those pre-snap mistakes that plagued them last year, the concentration mistakes, the errors. Nick Saban talked about playing penalty-free football, and this team did it in week 1. So they didn't turn the football over with a new quarterback. So if they can go into this game with Texas, if they can just play clean, not 15 penalties, but 3 or 5 penalties, something along those lines, then this team is going to be a problem, and that team being Alabama, they're going to be a problem for a lot of people if they play clean football.
Start quarterback. Jalen Milroe was the starting quarterback. We kind of had an idea that would happen. He made a lot of athletic plays. I'll tell you, Tom, I loved when he was running the football that he decided to tuck it in and not hold it like a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
It seemed to help. He did, he threw some deep passes. I felt like Alabama really didn't show a lot, and that could change when they kick off tonight. But your thoughts on the quarterback spot in Alabama's offense?
I thought he was efficient. I thought he certainly creates a problem. They didn't really run him on called running plays for him, which you got to think is in the book, but they didn't really do that. His runs were mostly scrambles. Of course, the amazing athletic play he made on the bad snap where he picks it up off the ground and runs it in for 25 yards for a touchdown. That kind of gave you a little bit of a hint of what Jalen Milroe can do. He threw the ball well and efficiently. There was no doubt about that. I would have loved to have seen that road grader offensive line that averages 350 pounds across the front do a little bit more in the traditional running game. I mean, Jace McClellan, I think, averaged 3.9 yards per carry, and he had that 120-yard carry. You take that out, and it was pretty tough. But you're right. I think we saw page one. I don't think they went any deeper than page one of the playbook. No sense putting a bunch of stuff on tape and showing Texas a bunch of stuff if you didn't need to do it. And we'll see more things in the playbook this week for sure. But the surprising thing quarterback-wise for me was that Ty Buckner was the second quarterback. He was the first quarterback off the bench. I thought that would be Ty Simpson. It was Ty Buckner. So we kind of know the pecking order. And Dylan Lonergan fans, love you. It's not time yet, okay? If he doesn't play in that game, when's he going to play this year?
Right.
UT Chattanooga, maybe? I mean, I don't know when he would play this year, barring injury. It's just not his time. It's not a slam against how good he is, because he certainly was one of the stars of the fall camp, but it's not his time yet.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. Talking with Thom Abraham, 97.7 ESPN the Zone in North Alabama, and part of the original Bama Tailgate show each and every week. All right, Tom, defensively, you could tell Nick Saban was happy with these guys. You've been around. I've been around. We talked about this last week. When he's relaxed and calm, normally that means it's a pretty good defense. Malachi Moore, though, plays the star position, went out of the game injured. Do you think he's going to play? And if he doesn't, or if he's not 100%, how do you think that affects the defense today?
Well, I think he's going to play, and I don't think he's 100%. But, I mean, he practiced during the week. He's been practicing this week. So, I mean, if you're out there practicing, we don't know the extent of how much he has been practicing. He is a key player because he'll move back and forth, star, safety. They'll put him in these different positions. He's a key player on that defense. Now, how his injury affects how he plays, I guess we'll wait and see, because this isn't the NFL. We don't get a probable or 75% or 50-50.
Right.
We don't get any of that, with these guys. So it will be interesting to see. The key loss, I think, is less key, if you will, a wordplay there. But Malachi Moore needs to be out there, and I think they'll be okay with that. The bigger key is going to be putting heat on Quinn Ewers. I mean, they're going to have to heat him up. We saw some good pressure at times, and your defensive backfield gets better and better. The more pressure you can put on a quarterback.
Yeah, and the defense seemed to make a lot of tackles. I didn't think they missed a whole lot of tackles. And how good were they on making stops behind the line of scrimmage on running plays, which I felt like last year Alabama didn't look like Alabama a lot. You'd see these running backs get the corner on them.
Yeah, I mean, Henry To'oTo'o would lead the team in tackles, but they were 4 or 5 yards downfield. They were missing tackles in the backfield. That was a very positive sign too. I mean, when they tackled you this time, you stayed tackled, and that looked more like Alabama defenses of the past. Again, not a P5 competition in Middle Tennessee, but still, I thought they looked very, very sound. I thought fundamentally they looked very sound on both sides of the ball.
Tom, do you think that it was the right move to put Texas's band and all of their people in the upper deck like they did to Alabama last year?
Yeah. I mean, they've been doing that for a minute now, right? Tuscaloosa. I mean, throw them, leave them in the parking lot. You know what I mean? I mean, that's not a, you got to take advantage of those types of things. There's no rules about that. In fact, over the years, they've moved Alabama's band up a little bit. They used to be a little bit lower, and they've kind of slid up a little bit as well. But yeah, I've got no problem with that.
I thought that was pretty funny. All right, well, tell people how they can check out your show every day and anything else you got going on.
Noon to 2 Central Time, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. If you're anywhere in that listening area, pretty big signal all throughout North Alabama. Otherwise, the app at 97.7 ESPN, you can get the app and listen to us at all times there as well. Great coverage of Alabama. We're Alabama affiliate, so we have outstanding coverage all day long of Alabama. And then, if you like North Alabama high school football, nobody does it better than us. We have 5 games every Friday night in our high school football package. So that's out there as well. It was a big night last night.
All right. Thom Abraham, and that's up in North Alabama, one of the hottest markets, if not the hottest market in the country right now, Huntsville, Madison, and those areas. And people know him from ESPN radio for many years, and he's one of the great hosts in our state. And I know people from all over the country like to listen to Thom Abraham on the app as well. Hey, let me remind you guys that the original Bama Football Tailgate Show is presented by Tuscaloosa Hyundai, the Elantra, the Sinatra, or SUVs like the Tucson. Tailgating does not get any better. When we come back, we're going to talk with Andrew Bone about recruiting. The Tailgate Show rolls on. Alabama and Texas in Tuscaloosa. We're previewing it, and we'll be right back.